Hey there, my friend. Steve Gamlin here. Welcome to the Vision Board Guy podcast. Now, this is a major momentous, I hope I said that word right, momentous occasion. This is our very first guest in the Brand New Podcast. And there was no question who I was going to invite. If you've ever heard me talk about the Lorangutan, that is my first guest today. We have been working together now for almost a year and a half. Lori has been through the Vision Board Mastery Program. We have done one-on-one coaching as well. And I am so proud of everything that she has accomplished and accomplishing and building for her future. So, Lori, welcome to the Vision Board Guy podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I am honored. I even brought the orangutan with me in case I start getting that nerves. I'm like, oh, I got her. I can channel that.
Yep. So tell everybody real quick what it is that you do. I know you host your own podcast, and that was part of your original goal, one of the ones we talked about. And I shared that most podcasts fizzle out between episode 3 and 8. So if you hit double digits, you're successful. So talk a little bit about yourself and where your podcast is at these days.
Yeah, so that actually kept me going. I wanted to make it to 8, and then it was 10, and then so you giving me that little tidbit of information has gotten me to episode 101 released today.
Yes.
So
awesome.
Yeah. So I, along with the podcast going on for nearly 2 years now, I also am a best-selling author, which my vision board and my vision in general for the book. I was stuck. That took me 13 months. I was stuck for almost a year until I really honed in on the vision. And then it just, I mean, you remember, you were part of that it just knocked it all out. So, the paperback and audiobook knocked both of those out. I attribute that to having the vision of what I wanted. I knew, so my book is ADHD, which I'm super ADHD, and that is the premise of my book. And my ideal, and I think you were actually the one to help me realize this, my ideal reader doesn't read, they listen. So it was very important to put the audio portion of it on my vision board, and they released on the same day, which also is very important to me because I knew if I didn't do it, I would put it off. So...
And here's the thing, too, where you had your vision and living with ADHD. I get it. I'm undiagnosed, but I guarantee I'm somewhere on the graph. You surrounded yourself with all the best people to make it happen. You worked with an editor to help you get through the process, to keep you on task. You worked with our buddy Jeremy on the recording of it, and he did the editing and got that out for you. So you brought in all the resources. That's one thing I want people to understand. Just because it's your vision doesn't mean you have to do all the work yourself. You leverage it. You get out there. You find the right people who get you, first of all. And I own a recording studio. And believe me, I've recorded with so many people over the years. I'm very particular about who I will record with and who I work well with. So you picked a winner there in Jeremy.
Absolutely. And that was important too, to surround myself with people that understand me. I don't know how many of your listeners are ADHD or identify with some parts of the ADHD, but a lot of coaches I can't work with. A lot of, just in general, because I'm not neurotypical. And something that you and Jeremy have in common is you both work with me on that and kind of help me channel that. And you know how to talk to me as well. There are certain ways that coaches like to talk to people that will shut me down. And you and Jeremy both, especially with the recording of the book, when I showed up at his studio, he literally had it set up in the most ADHD way. He had things for me. He had, we had the orangutan there, of course, we needed her printed out. But you're absolutely right. I could not have done it by myself. There's no way I could have done any of those things by myself.
And that can be a really overwhelming part of visualization. And when you and I started working together, you did not have this amazing room that you're sitting in right now. This is the recording studio you built with your husband, Dean. And I'm not going to claim responsibility for it, but I remember the initial conversation when I was asking you, what do your goals look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like, and what are the textures? What are the colors? And you and Dean went to the craft store. And when you came home and you held these fabrics and swatches and textures and styles and colors up, I just got goosebumps on my arm. And I'm a grown ass man, and I don't mind admitting that. That was such a win for me to see you do that. And you've just created so much energy and joy in your life in that room. And we talked about that, how when you needed to focus, when you needed to calm down, when you needed to be creative, that's why you created it the way you created it. So what were some of the steps and what were some of the growing pains with first off, believing you could do it and then actually doing the work. Again, you brought in somebody who could help you out. Your husband, Dean, helped you to physically put the room together for your vision.
Yeah. So you know this, and anyone who has ever felt overwhelmed, sometimes it can be debilitating, and we can convince ourselves that it's not possible, right? Like I can't have a studio with like the fancy egg crate walls and a fuzzy wall that just calms me down. And we got on a call with Steve, and Steve's like, stop overcomplicating it. And you essentially mentioned MacGyvering it, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And that's something that we tend to do, is try and make things perfect. And we thought about things we had in the house that we can use, so it wasn't super expensive. We literally had these panels. They're old cubicle walls that we put in for extra. And I think you and Dean actually talked about that because he asked if it would work. And then behind, where those aren't, there's other soundproofing things. But I was overcomplicating. I'm like, oh, I'm never going to have to. I feel like I have to have this huge room. This is a closet, and it is perfect for me because I will come in here. I was having a rough night a couple nights ago, and I disappeared, and everybody knew exactly where to find me. I came in here and I turned off the light, and I just sat in my room and pet my wall, which to some people that sounds weird, but to me, it calms me down. And that was one of the things that Steve and I talked about, was the textures. There's different textures on the wall. Even seeing those little dots makes me feel comfortable and at home. So, but yeah, the overwhelm was the biggest obstacle that I had, because I thought it was going to be way harder than it was. And once we got on a call with you, it was 2 or 3 days and a lot of brain cells for Dean. I don't recommend spraying a whole bunch of spray glue in a closet, but he took one for the team, and that's love.
Yeah. I use staples here in my room because I'm in a 12 by 13 room that I built in our basement about 5.5 years ago. And knowing what can go wrong with adhesive and the fumes, yes, I just chose to use staples and 2-sided tape for my stuff. So one of the things we actually discussed, this was just about a week or so ago, was the misconceptions about visualization and vision boards. And I happened to put out a post with a joke that I use a lot, where I say, oh yeah, so many people show me the vision board starter kit with the Lamborghini, the yacht, the mansion, the private jet, the big honking gold watch, the bank vault full of gold bars, and pallets of cash. And you kind of sent me a message, almost in parentheses. You kind of whispered it to me and said, that used to be me. I used to put 100%. That on the board. So what have you learned since then? And first off, too, there's not a single thing wrong with any of those items. But my biggest question is always not what do you want, but who do you want to become in the process of getting to whatever it is that you want. And that's a big thing that you and I worked on. It's who do you want to be? You mentioned the Lorangutan. That is Lori's, for lack of a better phrase, spirit animal. That's her internal beast, who is a total badass. Lori, orangutan, Lorangutan. That's how that came out. And now you have socks with the Lorangutan on them, and she's 100%. With you all the time.
I have an orangutan shirt now, so it's not the Lorangutan. I haven't had that one made yet, but I'm gonna. Yeah. But I got an orangutan shirt. It says, always be yourself. Unless you can be an orangutan, then be an orangutan. Yeah.
Perfect. So what were your kind of awakenings when you started with the Vision Board Mastery Program about who you want to become versus just the stuff that so many people and so many gurus tell you that's what success is? So where did you unlearn some of that, and what did you replace it with, and how did you go about creating your vision board?
So on my previous vision board, and we hosted a vision board party at our office like 6 years ago. And I'm like, I look at it now and I'm like, at least we were doing something, right? At least we were trying to talk vision with people. But one of the things that I learned from you and the Vision Board Mastery Program is the 7 or 8 or however many parameters it is, that's what's important, right? Yes, financial stability is important and reaching those goals is important, but it's a lot more important to know, like you said, who you want to be. I learned that I want to be someone that makes an impact on teenagers. I run a youth group. I went from multiple 6 figures a year to now I work at a youth group, and I still do other stuff on the side, but I've never been more fulfilled in my entire life until I came up with a vision and realized what I wanted. I never, ever would have guessed that. And I'm looking behind me on my wall. I'm going to show you guys this. So making an impact on kids is huge to me. My vision board doesn't have the boats and the big house and everything anymore. I have my congratulations card that the kids at church made me. I have a note on my wall from one of the kids in church and she is ADHD and my biggest fan. I love her. She can literally quote like my whole book. I can't even quote my book. I'm like, did I write that for real? She'll say things and I'm like, show me where it is. She has a congratulations, like every once in a while she'll write me a letter. That's the kind of things that are on there now because that's what drives me. I'm not driven by money and houses and all of those things. I'm driven by the impact I can make on people. And I now know what that feels like, smells like, tastes like. I know that.
And the beauty of being that way also is it can still lead to money and all of these other
Absolutely.
things. And that's what sometimes people have that misconception. They think Steve's this hippy dippy dude who doesn't care about money or all that. I mean, hey, the more the better. Great. But it's more important that I become the best version of myself on the way to get there. And I remember the first time you said, Steve, I have no idea how I'm going to communicate with these people, not just the youth group, but people of all the varying ages at the church. And you delivered a speech there, one of your first speeches ever. And you said one of the older attendees really was so touched and so impressed by what you said and gave you some really good feedback about how to even better communicate with them. And watching you and how you've changed and grown since then, I'm just like, I'm so happy that this is the version of you that appeared and that morphed. And, I just said this earlier on social media today. Life is a forge and we are all red hot pieces of metal. And life just keeps whacking the crap out of us. And we get shaped into different things and we learn and we get little scars and dings and dents. But then we quench and we get solid. And then we go forth and then we do our battle, whatever it is. We go out and do our work each day. And watching you growing with this youth group has been just incredible to see, because every time you talk about it, I just watch you while you're talking and you light up in a way that you didn't a year ago.
Yeah, and I never would have guessed that was where I was supposed to be, and that would be what gives me the motivation and the vision. I have a vision for the youth group. We're at a small, super small country church, so my vision is not like this big youth group, but it's more about the ripple effect, the impact, which I think I got to figure out how to and maybe I just need waves on my vision board to represent the ripple. I don't know, but waves with kids' faces on it. Yeah. And that's why my vision board is weird, because I lorify it and Steve encourages me to lorify it.
Yeah. Oh, because like I said, too many people are out there putting the pictures of all the material stuff and they're forgetting. I actually put up a post yesterday on social media talking about one of the words that's been on every vision board I've made over the past 16, 17 years is happiness. And so many people say, I want to be happy. I'm like, great. What does that look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like? What are the stories? How are you going to know when you're happy? What do you do to get happy when you're not feeling it? Put stuff like that on there. And then, of course, some people are like, you can put that on there. It doesn't have to be just things. I'm like, you're not writing a letter to Santa Claus here, dude. You're creating the best version of your life. I mean, I look at my board, I've got the words collaboration, I've got happiness, I've got joy, I've got love, I've got laughter, I've got giving, all these things that are part of my life to make sure that I go forth and put the best version of myself out there every single day. It's not just the material things.
Absolutely. And I completely forgot I put this up on my board because my board is behind my laptop. So anytime I'm in here, I'm looking at it. Yes. And it's also with pins, so I can add things as I post them on Facebook, and Steve will message me and be like, hey, that's great for your vision board. But I'm looking at the Facebook post that you told me to print out when I listed, I think it was on the 1 year anniversary or something of me joining the Vision Board Mastery Program, all of the things that I have accomplished since then due to having the right vision. And that's there. And there are things on there that I completely forgot about. Yeah. And so I love having those kind of things for me. And I think that's one thing that you encourage, and I absolutely love, is you get to know the people that you're working with and embrace that. And you encourage me to put up the kinds of things that are going to motivate me.
Yeah. I just see and hear how you speak about certain things, and I go, oh, there's that little finger tap, from inside me going, you might want to tell Lori that might be, I never tell people what to do. I just say, this might be some good vision board material. And, something I want to say too, as we get ready to wrap it up, not only did you put these things on your board, Lori, you went out and did the work to get there. And that's one of the misconceptions about vision boards. I mean, people that saw the DVD version of The Secret saw a genie in a magic lamp. Your wish is my command. That was his only line. Your wish is my command. Your wish is my command. To an extent. Now, the universe can put an opportunity in your face. It can smack you upside the head with one and say, hey, look at me. This is what you wanted. You have been consistently doing the work. You built the studio, you wrote the book, you edited the book how many times? You recorded the audio version of the book. You put together these presentations and retreats with the youth group. You're doing all of these things. You are being proactive. You're not like that person who wants to be a billionaire but never gets their butt cheeks off the couch cushions and goes and buys a ticket. You are doing the work. So what has been the hardest part about that? Or was that a big learning curve for you to understand and be able to see the systems and the ways and just the little steps that it takes to get there?
Yeah, so I'll make this quick, but I do want to point something out. When I started the youth group, I was brand new back at church. I've been to church since I was a teenager, which is crazy. And I think that's one of the things I reached out to you. Like, I don't know how to talk to these kids or in front of the church, but I had somebody in my ear and it was the wrong person. You know, it goes back to putting yourself around the right people. It was the wrong person. And it was in my ear saying vision is bad, manifestation is bad, all of these things. But it's because of that misconception of like The Secret and things like that you put it on your board and then you get it, right? Like, oh, I have a yacht on my board. Therefore, next week at 2:00, I'm going to go pick up no, that's not how it works. But the baby steps of just learning that there is a difference and there's a misconception about, the glue sticks and scissors. Like you say, wine and scissors don't mix. But yeah, we do have to do the work. Manifestation is bad whenever you just expect it to manifest. It's not when you put in the work and the effort and listen to the people around you, like Bob from church. Like you said, he's helping me build brick by brick. He gave me feedback the last 2 weeks in a row that I used because I speak at church every Sunday. And Bob is my biggest supporter, but he's also my biggest constructive criticizer.
Yeah.
And embracing those things, I think, is one of the steps that has helped me get to the point that I'm at and understand what needs to go on my board.
And as one final suggestion of something that might be good on your vision board, next week at church, get a picture, a little selfie of you with Bob as the encourager and put that tack that up on your wall maybe. Again, might be a good fit.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Lori, thank you so much for being my very first guest here on the Vision Board Guy podcast. Thank you so much. If you have any bit of advice for anybody who's out there, maybe new to visualization, maybe they've tried it and maybe they had the wrong voices in their ear and it didn't work out for them, what's a suggestion that you would make for them?
Just start. Don't wait for the right time. Don't wait for January 1st. Start now. Reach out to Steve, whatever starting looks like for you, do it. Don't wait.
Love it. Lori, thank you so much. I know you'll be back on the show. We got so much more we could talk about. And I do want to keep these episodes short so people can absorb them, take action, do something, get to that next level for them. So thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time.
You got it.